What she's doing right now is setting up her palette. And you're using tube watercolors. Tube watercolors are, what do you not?
It's not mixing good. I might need a different one.
Let me see if I can. So sometimes, so what happened is inside this tube is the pigment color, which is a powder, and it's mixed with what we call gum arabic. And that's what makes it bind to the paper. Powder wouldn't bind to the paper. Gum arabic makes it bind. It's a binder. And so that binder, if these been sitting for a minute, the binder just came out at first. All right. So once you get past that, go ahead and then you should be able to get pigment. All right. So gum arabic is the binder that makes it go to the paper. But in watercolor paint, water is your solvent. Water makes it spreadable. All right. Water is crucial in watercolor paint. These tubes are extremely small because you need small amounts of paint. The rest is water. All right. And I'm going to say this now, and we'll say it again. At the end of the period, you never wash off your palette until you're totally done, because watercolor paint dries up, right? Mm-hmm. What can you do to get it back to life? Water. Okay. So we have covers for your palettes so that you can keep them. And even if you don't have a cover, it doesn't matter. Can I show you something? Mm-hmm. There's a palette I have here that I used last year. Do you remember where it is?
I think it's right there. Or I think it's over here. Over here.
Oh, okay. Red, violet, and yellow green are my favorite colors to use. And this looks totally unusable until I just add some water to it. And then I can get my color back. Okay? Watercolor is so much fun. You're gonna love it. Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna start with a texture board, and then we're gonna be making color wheels. And in the color wheels, we're gonna be practicing with gradients, so you guys know how much of the paper to show through, because the paper's your white. You don't have white in watercolor, okay? So the first one is splatter. So what you wanna do is you wanna take that pigment first. I'm gonna choose yellow, but you just wanna put in one of your wells and add more water to it. And then that is going to be your watercolor paint. And with that, I'm going to take a toothbrush and dip it into the color. And I'm gonna try not to splatter it on you guys. And you're just gonna kind of pull this back, and it creates a nice little splatter texture. And that one's fun also to layer colors. I'm gonna get some red also. And just get a little bit in there. And are you guys seeing like how little pigment I'm putting in there? Like a little goes a long way. So I'm just gonna do like red over it. Oh, there's a big splatter. And yeah, you can see the red way better, but get that effect. A second one we have is alcohol. So for that, we have hand sanitizer. And what you do with that is first you're going to lay down color. So I'll lay down some red, and I'm just gonna create just a little section. And while it's still wet, you wanna take your alcohol and spray it, and it creates a nice little bubbly texture. And when it dries, it will flatten out, and it creates kind of like a ripply, like watery texture. The next one is salt, or I guess the second one is salt, but it's okay. And it's kind of the same thing. First, you'll put down a layer of color. I'm gonna actually make some green so that you guys can see that. Oh, there's red in there too. This is the other thing. Pigment can end up like on the rim of your guys' water thing. So if you notice your colors aren't coming out a pure color, it's probably because either your brush or your paint cup has pigment on it. So that's what just happened to me there. I made like a nice weird round that's gonna turn into. Okay, so for this one, same thing. You wanna lay down a little layer of the watercolor, and get some salt. You're gonna put that, and you're just gonna sprinkle it onto there. And does anyone notice what might be going on?
The salt's sucking it up or something?
Yeah, so the salt absorbs water, and so it creates, once it's dry, you can scrape the salt off of it, and it will leave you little like speckles in there, and it creates like a really nice texture. Try to save some.
And that works really good for the cement and sand.
Yes.
Salt rich.
Natural textures. Next one is a sponge, so very straightforward. You just very much just dip it into whatever color you're feeling, and you just kind of sponge it around. And this is great for layering and texturing. So if you wanted to create maybe even some purple, you can mix some red into it and mix it together on the paper itself, and it will create a nice little gradient, blue, purpley, almost like a tie-dye, which is fun. Next one is gonna be masking and relief. So resist, wax resist. So for that, we'll have masking tape, and it's pretty straightforward. Just as if you were like painting the walls in your room or something, you wanna cover up what you don't want paint on. And the same goes for these white oil pastels. We'll draw like, we'll just do like a heart. And you might not be able to see it now, but the magic will happen. So again, I'm gonna grab a color, make some paint on there, and then just paint over top. It's kind of resisting in there. And for that one, I could tell I did not add enough water to that. It was really thick feeling and opaque. You want to make sure you're not painting with these like they're acrylics. You want to add water to it so it can flow along your page. Okay, there's the oil pastel kind of showing through. It works a little bit better with crayons for the wax resist part, but you kind of understand that wherever you put down that pigment, the watercolor won't stick there. Okay, and the next one?
And then with the oil pastels, after it dries, you can scrape the oil, if you put it on really thick, you can scrape the oil pastel off and it goes back to white.
Oh,
Yeah.
good to know. The next one's scratch out. So okay, so there's scratch out and inscribe. So the difference between scratching out and inscribing is for scratching out, you put down the paint first. You let it dry, and then you can scrape off the white, like where you want the white to be. You can scrape off that pigment. And the inscribing is opposite. So you put down the paint first, and then you push down into the shapes that you want. And what happens is the paint will pool into those scrapes, and it will make it darker. So scratching out makes it lighter, inscribing makes it darker. So first I'll put down some paint for the scratch out, and we'll let that dry. I'm gonna come back to that one, but we'll just put down a layer. And then for the inscribe, I'm gonna first do my lines. Very pretty sound. Okay. And then I'm gonna do the same thing and just do a wash of color over top. And we'll see the ink gathering in the scrapes I made. So that was the inscribe one. Next one is blotting / lifting. So for that one, you'll put the paint down first. I'm gonna go with blue this time. Bit more water. And I'm gonna put paint down first. And I'm going to lift or blot the paint off with paper towel. So you can create some fun texture with that. depending how you crumple up the paper will be how the texture shows up on the paper. Dry brushing is when you dry off your brush. Be nice to the brushes. Don't like, I'm sure you guys know how to treat brushes now, but yeah, be nice to the brushes. You want to get it nice and dry. And then hopefully you would want to plan ahead and have some paint ready so that you're not dipping in the water first. So you want to dip into your paint and it creates like brush stroke textures, you can see. Okay. Next one is glazing. So for glazing, we're gonna put down one layer of color, usually starting with a warm color, and then we'll put, once that's dry, we'll put a cool color over top of it. And that's how, like, obviously where those two colors meet up, you'll get the color they make in the middle. Is that the right way to explain that one? Yeah, okay.
Usually works best with complementary.
Complementary colors, there we go. So in that case, there's no complementary colors in primary. So I'm going to make some green. And actually first I'm gonna put down the red so it can dry so that I'm ready to put the green down. And I will also come back to the scratch out one eventually too, so you guys can see how that goes. Okay, so first I'm gonna put down the red and create a nice little area of color. And dry off my brush and tap into some yellow. Put it into that blue and I'll get that green. Okay. I can't remember, Judy, do I let it dry first?
It works better.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, you can come back to it when you do scratch out and stuff.
Yes, I will. Okay, so next one is called crystallizing. Does anyone have any idea what crystallizing is? It's okay, the name is really vague. What we do with the crystallizing is we want to put down a layer of color first.
Oh, and put another color on it?
And we're gonna go cling wrap. And with the cling wrap, just want a little bit. We'll take it, and while it's still wet, you want to push it on to your little area of color. And this is kind of an overnight thing. You want to let this dry, and once it's dry, you'll be able to peel it off. And honestly now, if you kind of look at it, can you see what shapes are forming underneath that? So that's what you'll be left with when you peel it off. You'll get some really cool shapes and colors. The last one, or last two, are drop color, wet on wet, and then a graded wash. The graded wash is what will eventually happen all the way over here. But first is the drop color. And with that, think of it like tie-dye. So if any of you guys really like tie-dye, you've seen like how the colors kind of spread into each other. So this one we'll put down our color first. And the wet on wet is what I'm about to do. I just wetted my brush, wet paint, wet on the paper. And then we're going to take another brush. I'm gonna take a smaller brush. We're gonna make that wet. And I'm gonna get a different color. I'm gonna go into blue, just right there. Get some blue. And with that, I'm just gonna drop it into the color. You can see how it spreads around. And that's what will happen when you put wet paint on wet paint. It'll spread like that. There's not gonna be defined lines or anything. It's going to very much bleed into whatever color you have underneath. Okay, and then for this last one is a graded wash. So for that, you first wanna load up your brush with pigment and paint. And I'm gonna start on this side and go this way. So first, we're gonna have like the most pigmented part, and we're gonna start working our way down while cleaning out the brush. And it's gonna add more water into this and dilute the color. So you can see it's becoming more of a gradient. Because in watercolor, we don't have white, we have water, and we have our paper. So you have to be conscious when you're starting a watercolor painting where you want the whites and the bright colors to be, and almost avoid those areas, or use a wax resist to protect those areas, or a masking tape to protect them, and you can work around them. Okay, so now we're gonna go into our color wheel. I'm not gonna fill in the whole thing, right? Just
Are you dry enough to do glazing?
Oh,
and
right.
sketch out?
almost.
Okay.
Almost. I'm gonna
Yeah,
come
maybe
back to
after
this.
a color.
Yeah,
you can do it.
after a color, I'll do that. So on your color wheel, it's just gonna be like any other color wheel you guys have made. You're gonna have the primary colors, your secondary colors, and your tertiary colors. I'm going to start us off with yellow. And for these, we're going to do that gradient wash. And we're going to make these circles into spheres. So first of all, you want to think where your like light source is going to be and where you want your white area to be, because we're going to avoid that because we can't add light. We can only avoid the paper. So with the most pigment, I'm going to start in my bottom left corner. I'm pretending my light's over here. And with that, I'm going to put down the first pass and add some more water. And then go through the second pass. And this time I might go a little bit more around. And add some more water. And add that on there, creating that circle. And then drying off my brush a little bit, I'm going to fill in that little area. And I kind of want this yellow to be stronger, so what I can do is just go back in with more pigment and create more of a dark shadow on this side. And then blend it into the rest of it again by taking off more water, or more paint and adding water. But you don't want to add too much water. You don't want there to be puddles on your paper. You'll have a bead of paint almost that you will push around and work with. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to the scratch out. So this was the one that we put down the paint first, and we're gonna scrape off the pigment. Still a little wet, but you can understand that it really is just removing the paint from the paper. And then this one, our glazing one, it's best with complementary colors. So with the red, I made that green. I'm gonna tap into the green, and I'm just going to glaze that over the middle. Okay. That effect, yeah. I don't know how to describe that effect other than two colors layering over each other.
And you can really use any colors you want, but do you see that beautiful neutral tone that she got?
That's the
using red
word,
and green?
neutral.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so what you've seen is the only way to create texture in watercolor painting, because you can't draw it on, right? And so perhaps then after this dries, she would go in with more yellow to make it more intense. If you want it intense, you have to let it dry. Wet on wet, it's dulled. If you want a more intense color, you let it dry first and go back over it. You don't do it all at once. Watercolor is layering. Did you get that sense? You gotta layer it and build it, and you'll have like 7 layers on a watercolor painting. okay? And you can go ahead and